Next up, we have for the Department of Psychology and Neuroscience, please welcome to the stage, Nicole Mackenzie.
Think back to when you were a kid. What was one of the scariest experiences you had? Many of you might say, getting a shot at the doctor's office. In fact, as many as 90% of kids who get a needle will experience some pain and distress. Now think about yourself in the present. Many of you who had a needle fear as a child probably still have one now. The effects of negative needle experiences can be long-lasting, but the good news is that we know of many evidence-based, yet simple strategies parents can use to manage needle pain. This includes things like blowing bubbles, singing songs, or even playing games. Now, despite researchers knowing what these effective strategies are, the reality is that many parents don't know that these simple strategies are actually very effective in managing needle pain. The question then becomes, how do we close this gap? This is where knowledge translation comes in. Knowledge translation, or KT, refers to the flow of information from researchers to knowledge users in a way that can impact health. Knowledge translation gives us the opportunity to close the gap between parents and researchers by putting evidence into the hands of parents who can then use it to better manage needle pain. In order to work towards the goals of knowledge translation and pain management, our team of researchers, through the It Doesn't Have to Hurt initiative, created a knowledge translation resource. This resource provided parents with easy-to-understand strategies that they could use to manage needle pain. Now, here's where we broke new ground. A lot of research in knowledge translation and pain management has looked at whether or not parents learn new information from reading these resources. But we actually don't know if parents actually use that information outside of the lab setting, like at an actual doctor's appointment, and why this may be the case. My research has focused on identifying the factors related to knowledge translation resource use. These factors are critical for us to understand if we want to know more about how to make research accessible for parents to better manage pain. In order to identify what these factors actually were, I showed parents our knowledge translation resource before their child's needle, and then I followed up with them again after. What I found was that the majority of parents saw this resource as relevant to the questions they had about how to manage needle pain. And it was those parents who found it relevant who were more likely to actually use the information at their child's needle. I also saw that when parents were confident in their ability to use these strategies, they were more likely to want to keep using them again in the future. So, this leaves us with a very important lesson learned. As researchers, it is critical that we understand what these important characteristics are to make knowledge usable. And this ultimately benefits our youngest patients who get several needles. So by providing parents with relevant and understandable information, we can keep knowledge from getting lost in translation and take the ouch out of needles. Thank you.